GG Maritime has been around for 17 years now, started in 1998, and we do satellite email primarily. We now have moved on since 1998 to offer value adds over the satellite network, primarily for the maritime market. We've got 3,800 ships working through our servers, with now well over 200,000 messages per day being transmitted through our system, and we've got expansion plans for many software products throughout that era, and working on to crew packages, data transfer packages, antivirus packages, all value adds within the maritime market. Big data is being talked about within the IT industry, and it's moving into the maritime industry. Big data and the biggest problem within the maritime industry for big data is the bandwidth. Bandwidth is always much further behind the terrestrial bandwidth, and so big data from our point of view is being put together by terrestrial companies who are working on a terrestrial basis, and it's only recently that the bandwidth has started to expand over the satellite networks that we're now able to talk about big data coming to and from ships. So when you talk about big data, what you should be doing is looking at what advantages you're going to get for that, and some of the things that the shipping companies have, the issues that we have now with the shipping companies, of course, the massive cost of fuel. And the second big cost for a ship is the crew, the personnel, and the wages, and plus many more, maintenance costs and so on. But the fuel is one of the things that we've been trying to reduce by the use of big data. Okay, the price of the oil has dropped since recently. It was at over $100. Now it's dropped to $30, $40 per barrel, but it's still a massive chunk of their overheads, and big data does help in reducing that. From a point of view of safety at sea, I would say that the big aspect for big data with safety at sea is, of course, ECDIS. Now, ECDIS has been forced upon shipping. I know for a fact, I was at sea myself, I was a navigator at sea, so I know the aspects of safety on the bridge. And the ECDIS is very clever, and it's an excellent system, but it needs to be understood fully by the watchkeepers and in particular the captain. Quite a lot of things that happen, I've heard recently that there's a lot of alarms going off on the ECDIS, and because they're constantly going off, the crewman, the officer on the watch would just cancel the alarm without checking it, after a period of time, of course, when he gets complacent. And that's a danger from my point of view. If you're talking about safety at sea, then that becomes a danger over time. So we need to watch that, and we need to give more training to the crewmen, particularly the officer on the watch, to make sure that they understand fully the ECDIS system, so that we can eliminate any errors in that area. Big data on the whole is good. It's going to be great for shipping. I know that the big Triple E container ships have many sensors across the whole of the vessel, and that data is transferred back to the office, and it allows the office to do a lot more things with the data, where hitherto they hadn't been able to do that. In the old days, they just left the ship to get on with it. Now they can monitor the vessel almost on a minute by minute basis, because of the fact that bandwidth is now starting to catch up with the terrestrial bandwidth, and that therefore allows us to have more big data and do something with the big data. I do think that there can be some situations where big data is just data and you don't do anything with it. What you should do is utilize big data for the benefit of the company. Probably reduce some of your crew usage, the salaries on the crew. Where you can reduce salaries on crew, I'm not sure, but that is another worry for safety at sea, because you then start to get unqualified or lesser qualified senior officers, and that is again a worry for the safety at sea. But that's where the two come hand in hand. If you get big data, you can get more information, you can get more qualified members of staff in the office that are analysing the data and sending messages back to the captain for the captain then to make the decisions, which again breaks with tradition because the captain has always been the person that's making the decision. So it sounds as though I'm going round and round in circles, but I'm bearing in mind what used to happen in the old traditional days with shipping and what big data's actually happened, making things happen nowadays with the changes that are going through and with the new vessels coming off the slipway. Big data will help, as I said, where they can have much more qualified officers shoreside looking after more than just one vessel, because he's getting data back from the ship to help him make decisions, to help the captain then make better decisions. And we're talking about routing, planning, weather, and of course trim of the vessel, changing the trim of the vessel, changing the speed of the vessel, therefore reducing the fuel consumption and therefore costs. Shipping companies, especially nowadays, are looking at cost reduction as much as they can in every way they can, and they've got to use big data wherever they can to do that. We have a package called Raft, which is an automatic file transfer package, and that is designed to transfer data from applications on board, such as planned maintenance, purchasing packages, i.e. accounts packages, also the data coming from the sensors on board the vessel. We would transfer that data in an efficient manner over the satellite for the office to be able to use, and then make good, clear decisions to then send back to the vessel. Internet of Things is a great concept. It's something that we're really looking forward to. It's very exciting. It's something to really look forward to for ships. As I mentioned, the EEEs, take example, the EEE container ships have got lots and lots of sensors right across the vessel, and each of these sensors can be giving out data, and that's collected and sent back. But the Internet of Things gives you even more. You can have, on the satellite side, you can have short burst data. It's called a short burst data, where you can send little bursts of data from items on board, machine to machine, different items on board, pumping out little bits of information from as basic as the printer is out of ink on a network, to the engine is overheating, to the trim of the vessel, to the fuel consumption. There's many areas within a vessel that can give you information backwards and forwards. For example, on the container ship, they've got refrigerated containers. That information again can be sent back. Containers are now being tracked, so that data can be sent back. All items on board a vessel can be part of the Internet of Things, and I'm very excited about it, because it's going to just improve the efficiency of shipping worldwide.